Hello folks, Midnight is now less than a week away from launch, at least if you have early access. If you're on a delayed access, you will have an extra 4 days to wait. But either way, now is the time to start figuring out how you're going to be preparing not just for the expansion launch, but also the eventual start of Midnight's Season 1. So let's dive in. In the run up to the start of the expansion, by far the best thing that you can do to get ready is to clean out your bags and your banks. No matter how you prefer to level up, you are going to be getting a continual fire hose of junk drops, gear, and of course all of that jazz. And do you really want to be having to deal with full bags halfway through the intro quest line? And on that theme, cleaning out your quest logs, sorting out your transmogs are really the best starts that you can provide for your characters when they start to level up in the new expansion. And if you haven't already, now absolutely is the time to start finalising what characters you are planning to use early on and what, if any, professions you will be wanting to take on in Midnight. Now, of course, I just know that when I tell you all of that, I'm already preaching to the converted. Either that, or of course, you'll just ignore it all and go in with completely full bags like I probably will. But what about expansion day itself? So let's start with the early access process. Well, Blizzard originally sold us 3 days of early access, which would imply an early access launch on Friday the 27th. Very carefully hidden away in Blizzard's State of Azeroth written recap was this announcement, which has revealed that early access is actually going to last for 4 days instead of 3, most likely because Blizzard doesn't want to be launching a new expansion on a Friday afternoon. It's beginning on Thursday, February the 26th at 3 PM Pacific Standard Time. So what are we getting during the early access period? Well, the short answer is leveling. And the longer answer, well, all 4 of the new zones will be opening up. That's the revamped Eversong Woods and Silvermoon, along with the new zones of Zulaman, Harendir and Voidstorm. And that will be accompanied with the Level Up campaign storyline and all those side quests. And after we've completed leveling up, we can expect to get access to most of the max level open world content, including professions, normal dungeons, and rank 1 to 3 delves. And that's pretty much it. What this basically means is that you will be having a ton of extra time to level up your characters, or if you like, to explore all that the open world has to offer. But for the most part, one thing to be aware of is that you will not have access to any particularly exciting gear drops. So what exactly should we be doing with all of that extra time that we'll probably end up having on our hands? Well, as a fan of the initial level up and world exploration of a new expansion, for me, this is a great excuse to take my sweet time leveling up my main, doing all of the storylines, and maybe having a go at 1 or 2 of the new open world mounts. And this is something that I'd personally recommend for everyone to at least try out once. The War Within had what was, in my opinion, the best level up storyline World of Warcraft had ever released, surpassing even Warlords of Draenor's level up story and equaling Legion Suramar, which of course was a max level storyline. And I do think that at least some of the people who power leveled past the War Within storyline really did miss out. And if you're someone who likes running multiple characters, then this will also be a great time to get a couple of extra alts up to speed as well. And if you really want to start to get a head start in gearing up, then for Midnight, you do need to be aware that the lowest Explorer upgrade track for gear has been removed, meaning that the lowest levels of max level gear will be going back to having a fixed item level, with normal dungeons, once you hit max level, dropping only item level 214 gear. And what this does mean in practice is that the only real player power advantage during early access will be for gold makers, as being able to level up your professions and getting started before the main crowd is quite unarguably a major opportunity to get a head start in what will be very competitive auction house markets once the full release of Midnight does kick in. That full release will be kicking in on Monday, March the 2nd, which is when everyone else will be able to jump in and get started on catching up on their leveling. And just a couple of days later, we will get the first weekly reset on either the 4th or the 5th of March, depending on your region. And this is when we'll get the launch of a 2-week pre-season period, with heroic dungeons opening up along with rank 4 to 11 delves, albeit those delves will be in their non-bountiful form. And while not officially confirmed, I'm also expecting that this will be when the open world weekly quests and rewards will start to kick in. Heroic dungeons will be awarding 2 out of 8 adventurer track gear at item level 224, with the open world content and delves dropping either 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 4 adventurer gear. And we should also be able to get a maximum of 2 out of 8 veteran track gear pieces from the open world events weekly chest in each of the 2 weeks. What this means is that if you're looking to use this period to prepare your characters for the main Mythic Plus or Raid seasons, I'd recommend that in week 1 you do a world tour of all the 8 heroic dungeons, starting out with a random heroic to get the random dungeon bonus, and then switching to choosing the specific dungeons that you haven't done so far. The goal here is to get as much of that 224 gear as you can, while at the same time taking the chance to familiarise yourself with the basic layout of the dungeons. And for delves, while they don't, without their bountiful status, drop any particularly interesting gear, you nevertheless will want to ensure that you have unlocked the highest tier you possibly can, ideally level 8, for when the bountiful delves do open up. Moving on to the second week of the pre-season, and I'd recommend taking a look at what gaps you have in your character's gear, and to focus on doing the dungeons that have bosses that will drop items to fill those gaps. For crafted gear, sparks will not be available until the new season opens up, nor will the higher hero and myth crests, meaning that in practice you'll be limited to uncommon or blue quality crafted gear, which can be crafted up to item level 237 using adventurer Dawn crests. Now overall, I suspect that you'd be better spending any crests you get in the pre-season weeks and upgrading your adventurer track gear drops instead, but this could still be useful as an option if you have really bad luck. And without any crests, that blue crafted gear comes out at item level 165, which I do think is only useful for any less played alts that you may have. And with that, we'll now be as ready as we possibly can be for the start of Season 1, which will be on the week of March the 17th. This will see the Void Spire and Dream Rift raids opening up in normal and heroic difficulty only, along with the LFR Wing 1 for Void Spire and LFR for Dream Rift. And this week we'll also see Mythic 0 seasonal dungeons open up, along with rated PvP and the launch of bountiful delves. Depending on your raid schedule, you'll likely want to kick off with a world tour of Mythic 0. Mythic 0 will be dropping 1 out of 8 champion level gear at item level 246, as well as 4 out of 8 champion pieces from the weekly vault the following reset. And champion gear will of course also be dropping from the normal raid, with the later bosses dropping slightly higher gear up that upgrade track. And if your raid team can stretch to a week 1 heroic clear, the heroic raid will be offering the best gear possible this week, giving you your very first drops of hero track gear. Tier 8 and above bountiful delves will be dropping 1 out of 8 champion track gear, along with 1 out of 8 hero track gear from the bountiful delvers map, and a 3 out of 8 hero track item from the following week's vault, which represents the best possible gear that non-heroic raiders can expect to get. And this does mean that if you have some spare time this week, you will very likely want to be filling out your Delve Vault row as well. Now, if you don't have the time to fill out both the Vault and Dungeon rows and have to choose one or the others, in my view, the Delve row does offer slightly better gear, but that will come at the cost of missing out on a chance to familiarise yourself with the Mythic dungeon mechanics before you dive into Mythic Plus. Personally, if you are a Mythic Plus fan, I'd say that you would be better concentrating on the Mythic 0 dungeons, whereas if you prefer other content, including raids, you might well want to concentrate on that Delver's row instead for the slightly better gear. For epic level crafted gear, we don't currently know if we will be getting 2 sparks in week 1, which will be required to craft your first higher level crafted gear piece. But if we do, then do be aware that there aren't any sources of myth level crests in the first week. so you would be limited to a maximum item level of 266. I personally though will be waiting until I have some myth crests to spare before I'll be getting into crafty gear. But if you do want to get off to a very early start with crafty gear, epic versions of the Dark Moon trinkets will be available and could be very interesting along with weapons in the early stages of the season. It's not until the following week of March the 24th when things really start to get started though. Raiders will see the Void Spire and Dream Rift raids opening up in Mythic difficulty along with Wing 2 of LFR and Story Mode for the Dream Rift. And for Mythic Plus fans, finally, you'll be able to get your start on your Season 1 Mythic Plus campaign. As usual, Mythic Plus fans can expect to start out with a lowly +2 key and be pushing up from there. And for the most part, Mythic Plus is going to feel very similar to the War Within's, with the new Myth Dawn Crest replacing Gilded Crests, dropping from +7 and above, and Mythic Plus 10s awarding 1 out of 8 Myth Track gear from the weekly vault. Overall, unless you're a very high level Mythic Raider, Mythic Plus will likely be offering you the best gear and upgrade options in the first week of the season. And for those of you who can make it in week 1 of the season, the goal will be to do at least one Mythic Plus 10 out of time for the vault, along with hitting the Myth Crest cap by farming out those +7s and above. And if you cannot stretch to those dizzy heights, then as well as pushing as high as you possibly can in Mythic Plus to maximise your vault, I would suggest still aiming for +7s so that you can get your hands on as many Myth Crests as you can. And for farming out Heroic Dawn Crest, delves ideally at level 8 or above are very likely to be the best source of those Hero Dawn Crests. The following week of March the 31st will be an interesting one for Raiders, with the final March of Quel'Danas raid opening up in normal, heroic and mythic difficulty, along with Raid Finder Wing 3 for the Void Spire. And for those of you who don't raid, you will have another week to wait to finally see the end of the story, with Story Mode and Raid Finder opening up for March of Quel'Danas on the week of April the 7th. And that's it for my quickfire launch guide to the Midnight expansion. If you have any plans or tips for preparing for Season 1, then do sound off in the comments down below. If you found this guide helpful, entertaining, or even just plain annoying, then let me know by hitting that like icon. And if you want to support my channel to grow and help me to make more of these videos along with my other content, then hit that subscribe button right now before you forget. If you don't want to miss out whenever I release a new video, then as well as subscribing, you can follow me in social media for updates. My links in the description below as well. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.